Hello, dear friends. My name is Елена Вертугина, and I'm here with the project «Живые диалоги в живом английском». And today my guest is Antoine MARCQ, who is a teacher trainer, a co-founder of the school in St. Petersburg, and an old friend of mine. And he's going to tell us a few words about himself before I start asking him some questions about different things connected with teaching, with learning languages and everything.
All right, so my name is Antoine.
Yes.
You know me quite well now. I've been living and teaching English in St. Petersburg for about 13-14 years now. My partner Tom Wiseman and I, we founded a school in St. Petersburg called English Connection. That was about 7 years ago. And we like to experiment. We like to play with different ideas out there, different methodologies, try them out to see what works best. So since then, we've gone through all the paperwork to become an official teacher-trainer center. So we deliver kursi повышения квалификации, teacher professional development courses, and we develop our own materials. It's supplementary materials to add to most materials that we get nowadays are textbooks and games. We specialize in activities to build fluency. So to build reflexes for one, and for another, speaking activities that are specifically targeted at fluency, but accurate fluency.
Yeah.
Yes, I don't like when we think about accuracy and fluency separately. To me, they have to be married. All of our students should be aiming for accurate fluency.
Yeah, I've been to several seminars of yours, and I know this. I heard this idea from you that fluency is the ability to react quickly according to the circumstances, and to react accordingly and correctly. Yeah, and this is a very smart idea because very often students really lack words and lack vocabulary and grammar, and you have to build these reflexes up.
Exactly. So some students can study for a long time. There are some students that are perfectionists, introverts especially. They'll take all the grammar or the vocabulary, and they'll really try to learn it all intensively. They'll reach pre-intermediate, intermediate level before they feel that they can speak. But then you'll see that in real life situations, they're very quickly blocked because they don't know. They have the information, they have the knowledge, and they don't know where to get it. It's the big difference between knowledge and skills. Our jobs.
When did this idea first come to you?
I think it was. I think it was very clearly to me. Tom as well. He probably would have a different answer. I remember, in particular, a group of students a while back. They had no complaints about my teaching. I mean, we had great lessons. They came for a first course, a second course, a third course. It was very nice. I was quite satisfied with the way I was teaching until after one course, they went on holiday. They came back after the holiday for another course, and a couple of students laughed, said like, hey, we had a great holiday. It's really a shame that we couldn't take you with us. You're our teacher. We would have had our little Antoine in our pocket who had given us the right answer at the right time. And that's where I thought, I'm fine. I'm delivering knowledge to them. It's fine. And they're enjoying the lessons. They're coming back. They do have progress. They are understanding the knowledge, but it's not becoming a skill. Like when they were on their own in real life, they struggled to find what they needed. And yes, that was a clear moment when I thought, there's something lacking in my lessons. And it was the building reflexes part.
I know that you have these games, and I know that you do it almost every class. Yeah?
Yes.
So how much is the time that you devote to it?
This is very much like sportsmen or like musicians. Regularity, repetition is more important than duration. So I push my students to do these 5-10 minutes every day, and same thing in our lessons, 5-10 minutes maximum, because it's actually pretty tough on the brain. I mean, pretty much whatever the skill we're trying to automate, it is drilling. So basically we're going to work with cards and we're going to try to make the students answer faster and faster and faster.
Yeah, that's a bit of pressure, I must say.
Exactly. Now, the students love it. It is good fun because it's competition, it's good fun, but it is tiring. So 5-10 minutes is enough for the brain.
Is it good as a warm-up?
Yes.
Yeah.
Sometimes that'll depend on my previous lesson. So during the speaking activities, I'm paying attention to what my students are using, but also what they're avoiding. There are some things that we know we expect our students to be able to use, and in the speaking activity we don't hear it. That's a clear sign that the reflexes are not there yet. So based on a speaking activity from a previous lesson, I might decide to start my next lesson with just another activity where we're just we're continuing building reflexes on something they already know.
Do you sometimes connect those exercises with the topic that you are studying? I mean, something that you discuss, like transport or traveling or holidays?
Yes, the topic of the lesson gives direction to the lesson, and it also depends on the methodology. Like if I'm using something like project-based or task-based, we're going to start with a task, and then I'm going to listen and adapt my lesson. So I'm going to have my cards ready, and I might tell the students, guys, very good job interview, for example, but we need to get those experiences, they need to flow better. So we're going to do a bit of building reflexes with have-has plus V3, for instance.
Okay. I remember one of the games is about you creating some strange question, that students need to react to. And from that the discussion starts and all the fun starts. Maybe we try something right now?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
So the whole principle is, as you said, is just to get students to react. It builds their fluency.
Okay.
It helps them, after building reflexes, it helps their brain just connect where those skills are. And when you play games like that, the difference with production activities is that students have preparation time. So I don't know about your students, but my students tend to try to show off. When they have preparation time, they go, Antoine recently taught us, we saw this and that in class, we're going to try to show off. With these impromptu, like with these cards, there's no preparation time whatsoever, it's really just react. And honestly, I've done so many. But it can start very simply like this. The student A, I'm student A, I pick a card and I go, did you take my wallet?
Your wallet?
Yes, my wallet. It was right here.
No, I didn't.
Well, it's very important. We've got all my money in there, my bank cards and everything.
What color is it? Maybe I will help you find it.
Light blue, actually. Well, it's your phone, so it's.
It's my studio, yeah. But I'm not the woman who actually takes somebody's wallets without asking.
I honestly never thought you were, but right now I'm kind of questioning that because I just came here and I'm left without a wallet now.
Okay, so what are you suggesting here?
I don't know. It's either you or one of your students.
Are you sure you did have it with you?
So you're saying I'm forgetful now?
Maybe, things happen. You are for the first time here. Maybe you are not feeling that comfortable. So who knows? Maybe you thought that you had taken it with you, but you forgot it somewhere.
So we're clearly not going to find my wallet, aren't we?
Now, of course, we are going to. As soon as we stop shooting the video, we will just, look everywhere.
So it simply works like this, basically. It's just a card, and you have, it doesn't have to be a question, it can just be a statement, and student A reads it, and student B is always left shocked. There are always elements that they can't predict, they can't prepare for, and what I love about that is that at this stage, you only hear what your students master. They can't make anything up.
And the more provocative the question is, the more interesting it is, right?
The students really get into it, yes.
But you really, as a teacher, if you want to conduct such an activity, you really need to know what to say and how to make them talk. how not to just to let them close up and say something. No, I didn't take it. No, I didn't take it. I'm sorry. It's your fault. Something like this.
Well, actually, in my lesson, I don't participate in the dialogues.
It's only them.
I put them in pairs in groups of threes and give them the cards, and they'll perform, and I listen because I have those. I'm trying to pay attention to what my students are using and what they're avoiding to know how to prepare my next lesson. Basically, I find it's a test. I'm testing. They're developing their fluency.
It's a dogme style then. When you build your lessons, just looking at what your students lack. Yeah.
I know what they're supposed to have because I in this lesson there was some introduction to some new. It can be vocabulary, functional language. It might just be a project or a task. So I know what was going on, and I know what I'm expecting. My students should have progressed in some way, so they should have developed their skills, and here I'm just listening, trying to pay attention to whether they did or not, to know whether I should build more reflexes next time, if I should concentrate on something new.
That's very interesting, I will surely incorporate it into my practice, but I understand that you also need to be very flexible. That's a big challenge for you as a teacher. Even if you are just listening to how they are doing it, you need to be able to interpret and to work with it.
You're absolutely right. I think teaching has never been a more difficult job, honestly. 50 years ago, 100 years ago, there was less information, there was less communication, so governments gave us course programs. And as a teacher, you could just trust. There was one main methodology.
You could take the textbook, and do it.
And that was the main, I think across the world, the main way of teaching. There must have been exceptional teachers that experimented a little bit. Nowadays, there's so much communication. I mean, you're shooting a video right now for social networks, I'm guessing. There's so much information. There are loads of new methodologies. Why? Because we know so much more now about how the brain works, about psychology of students, and now students expect as well much more from the teacher. The teacher should be able to adapt, should be able to be flexible. We're supposed to adapt to the learner now. I would say even English has become more complicated. 100 years ago, English was okay, the Queen's English. Let's just follow British English.
Because students just watch serials, they watch videos, they communicate on the internet, they know everything, sometimes much more than teachers do. Yes, for teachers it's a big challenge. How to keep them concentrated on the material, how to get them to work. Yeah, because they will be just resistant. They will say, we will read all that on the internet ourselves. Yeah, so we really need to be thinking of new methods and involving activities and things like that.
Well, you're absolutely right. About the internet, I like to remind my students that the internet doesn't know everything. The internet knows everything that humanity knows. And humanity is not always right. So actually on the internet, students can find knowledge to pretty much prove anything. If you want to believe that the earth is flat, you can find proof online.
Yeah. Depending on the sources and on how convincing the article or video is.
Exactly. So that would be the first thing. The second thing, I agree with you. We teachers need to be more and more flexible. That is why I think we also need to be much more analytical. We need to have little systems. We need to have systematic approaches to our lessons, or else there's no time for our own lives. Yeah. Between teaching, preparing, correcting, speaking with parents, speaking with students, and then finding out about new methodologies, reading about new psychology and things like that, it's impossible. So I'm actually, by education, I'm an engineer, so I really like systems. I find it really helps. What I was saying about these three questions, it's a system we have now. There's three key questions. Whenever there's a speaking activity, I listen to my students and I base all my listening on these three questions. What are my students using? That's my happy question, confirming. Okay,
Take notes. Yeah.
they were supposed to master this skill. I hear it in their speaking activity. Good. What mistakes are they making? It's my half-happy question. Because if they're making mistakes, it still means they're using it. So we're halfway there. We're getting towards fluency, but it's not fully accurate. Okay. So we're just going to need to build more reflexes next lesson. And third question, my sad question, what are they avoiding? There's maybe a skill that I thought that we had done enough for them to master, but I don't hear it in the speaking activity, which clearly tells me that I haven't done enough work on that. And so that's going to, these three questions, actually I'm planning my next 2 or 3 lessons.
So do you expect from them that they will be using something that you taught them almost immediately after you did that?
No, I would never expect them, unless it's something very straightforward, but no. I don't expect speaking activities. I think that's a very good point. We shouldn't expect our students to master a skill after one lesson.
Yeah. There needs to be a series of classes and maybe some extra work, and maybe from the just out of space, out of the ear. Yes, they just produce the structure that you've been wanting them to produce for long. Yeah.
Students need time to digest information.
That is why my main principle is just to throw as much lexis at them as possible, because when we acquire our native language, nobody bothers to restrict the language. Yes, the more the better. And sometimes some textbooks are built around just separate words. Well, we're not going to just delve into lexical approach right now. We are talking about different things. But I think all this is important in building up fluency, because you need to have a lot of ready-made structures to be able to retrieve them very quickly from your brain. Yes, according to the situation, according to the context.
You're absolutely right. Our students expect that anyways from them. But modern day students are not going to be satisfied with a teacher saying like, no, I'm not going to give you that word because it's not part of the collection of lexis that we're supposed to learn today. It doesn't work that way anymore. You're absolutely right. You have to be able to adapt. The lexis you give your students in class has to be adapted to the task, the projects that they're supposed to carry out. Maybe linked with the real life content that you used in the lesson.
Yeah. I know that we could talk ages here about things, because we have questions to each other about our professional areas and everything. But I probably will finish this short interview with one important question. So Antoine, 10 years ago and Antoine now, what has happened during this time with you as a teacher?
With me as a teacher? I would definitely have to say that. Then again, I'll come back to my point about a systematic approach. 10 years ago, so that's 7 years since we founded the school. Tom and I met a year or 2 years before founding the school. So it's pretty much that, yes. 10 years ago, I was a teacher I was flexible, but I didn't have a system. So I remember that my weeks were pretty hectic. I was really running from a lesson to the other. Planning every lesson took me maybe 2 hours, because I took every lesson independently during the week and also during the course. I didn't have such a systematic approach. Nowadays, I'm much more serene in my teaching week, because I have a very systematic approach. I can honestly, a 2 academic hour lesson, I can prepare for it in 20 minutes.
And I think I understand you perfectly well, because since I've got my systematic approach, it's a lot of things became clearer. Yeah.
I think that's the most important nowadays. That's there's a lot of talk about teacher professional development. I think you have to be very careful with that, because there's a lot out there, and there's a lot that can actually confuse you more. The more methodological, more psychological ideas that will confuse you even more and leave you even struggling even more with your lesson planning. We need to make teaching more effective for the learner, because we are finding more and more about how the brain works, and we can make teaching more and more effective for the learner, but also much more efficient for us teachers through these systematic approaches. A lot more is demanded from us nowadays. We need help with that. We need systems, approaches to give us the time to be happy as well in our own lives.
Yeah, sure, definitely. Well, one more thing. Sorry, I wanted to ask you just one final question, but there will be two of them. Because I know that you are taking so much, you are very active, yes? Lately, you've been really active. You are everywhere, yes? You're traveling, you're promoting your system, you are meeting with teachers, and I'm really grateful that you have found time for my little project.
Of course.
Yes, which is a cup of teaching. And I can say that Antoine has participated in a lot of meetings and in several schools for teachers, and it was really great. So what do you think about little projects like these?
They're essential. It's kind of like, at the moment, I think what's developing is a whole new kind of teacher support ecosystem. There are big conferences. I think you're mentioning, basically this weekend I was at Trendy 8 in Moscow. Yeah. It's a very big conference. It's very important. A big conference like that will attract speakers from far away. Because it's big, we have to understand that these speakers who have been publishing books. I know you love the lexical approach. Hugh Dell or Andrew Walkley, they're in England. Asking them to travel to St. Petersburg, Russia for a little meeting of 10 teachers might be a bit more difficult because, well, financially it makes sense. We have to understand a big conference like that. I would love for, I think you know Chris Biffle, whole brain teaching or power teaching. Yeah. I would love for him to come from America to Russia to one of our conferences. But of course, financially it only makes sense if it's a big conference for him. So big conferences offer that kind of big weekend experience. At the same time, I can tell you, I don't have time at these conferences to speak with everybody I'd like to. I was very glad to spend some time with, maybe you know Anita Modestova, for example, from Moscow. She's great. It was nice to see her again. From Smolensk, Katerina Stashevskaya,
there were lots of little stars,
They're great. At a cup of teaching, we have way more opportunity to actually go in details. It's just a small group of teachers actually being much more practical, and we can spend a few hours at cup of teaching talking a bit about theory, then entertaining ourselves with a few games that are helping our teaching style, and then brainstorm or actually have little lessons, like give each other little lessons, things like that, just to share experience. It's much more practical.
So all things should exist.
Yes. It's a big ecosystem of teacher support. I highly recommend. I think all teachers should be part of a small community in their area.
So this was, in the first place, the aim of ours when we were creating the community. So to just gather around us like-minded teachers who are interested, who are searching for new ways, who want to do their professional development, but at the same time in a cozy atmosphere among friends when they are not afraid of making mistakes or anything like that.
And you meet very good people as well.
Yeah. We're a pretty good batch already, and you are part of us. I'm happy. Okay, so thank you, Antoine, very much.
Thank you.
We wish all of you the best, whether you are teachers or whether you're just studying English. Yes, follow Antoine and his projects. Come to Живой Английский, to our projects, to our speaking clubs, and to our cup of teaching meetings, and to our courses. See you soon.
See you soon.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.